In accordance with the requirements of the open meeting law, please be advised that this meeting is being recorded and broadcast over the Lunenburg PAC Access channel. This meeting is being conducted remotely and will be recorded and be able to be found, that's a mouthful, on the Lunenburg Access YouTube channel within 24 hours of the meeting. The following information is also provided for members of the public that would like to participate in the meeting remotely. From a computer, please use the link below to join the meeting webinar number 766-316-7607. If calling, please use the number 888-475-4499 and enter the meeting ID. If you're not registered with Zoom, you'll be asked for your name and email address. The agenda lists all the topics which may be discussed at the meeting and are reasonably anticipated by the chair. Votes may be taken as a result of these discussions. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items may not listed may be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by open meeting law. With that, I open the meeting and roll call. Dave?
Here.
Chris?
Here.
Pat?
Here.
And Karen?
Here.
All right. So we'll start with public comment. Any public comment from the board? No.
Nope.
I have one. I received an email from Sue Doherty, and the Montachusett Regional Planning Commission has offered to assist the town of Lunenburg in making Lunenburg a age-friendly community. The town manager and I would like to invite you and or a member of your board to an information meeting September 15th at 4 p.m. the upstairs room of the town hall. So this is a meeting and there is a flyer attached. I can forward it to everyone in the commission. The meeting is at 4 p.m. I don't know if anyone would like to go. I can go as well. I just wanted to maybe give an opportunity for someone else to participate.
What is it about? What they want to make us
Age friendly.
age friendly?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's just talk about. I think the meeting is about how to become an age friendly community. I can forward everybody the flyer, and if you're interested in going, just let me know. Otherwise, I'll just plan to go and take as much information as possible.
I can probably go. I just need to, if your schedule doesn't allow, and I can probably go. I just need a little bit of time to try to flip flop my work schedule that day.
Okay, all right.
I'm at the fire station. I can't go. Sorry. I would be
Okay.
interested in going up.
All right, okay.
I know
I'll
they
forward it-
may have some money available too for, so you never know. This might be an opportunity to see what they have.
Exactly. That's a great point, Pat. Okay, all right, I'll forward the flyer to everybody and then invite Karen taking the lead and I can be a backup. And that's it. Any public comment from the public? I see we have none. All right, approval of the minutes. Did everybody have a chance to read the minutes that were in the meeting folder?
I did.
All right, any comments, suggestions? No, okay.
Those are the minutes from, is it
June
July?
15,
June 15th?
June 15 meeting. June 15, let me see, I have it open. Those are our June meeting, June 15 meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, with that, I'll take a motion to approve of the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from June 15th. That's written.
Second.
All in favor, we're gonna do a roll call. Karen,
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Did we lose Dave?
I'm
Oh, Dave, okay.
there.
Dave, And did I get everybody?
No,
No,
Pat,
no.
it was Pat.
Aye.
Pat. Okay, I need to fix my gallery here. Okay, I think this is better for me. It was just set on the speaker. Okay, this is good. Okay, all right. With that, and I for myself. So we are good on that.
And
Okay.
I'll send it over to town hall momentarily, but I did just want to throw it out there that our minutes taker did send me minutes at 3:30 this afternoon from our joint meeting with the Board of Selectmen. So obviously, I wasn't gonna put them up tonight because nobody would have had time to review, but I will get those up for the next meeting. And I'll find out where our July minutes are too.
It's great. Thank you, Karen. All right, next item on the agenda is the DPW Director update. Bill had offered to come, and he updated the spreadsheet as we had requested. And the updates that he had was that he was on every item, is that he was going to investigate. Karen, can I share my screen? You just sent me. Oh,
Yep.
wait, yes, okay. All right, I'll
Oh,
just
yes.
show everybody.
Yep.
So he actually transferred to a Microsoft Excel. I guess the town now is officially using Microsoft 360 online. And all the updates that he had was that he was going to look into how to solve the issues brought up. But I just want to show everybody that he did do that. So I'm probably changing this for a September meeting. And but anyway, we'll keep this going, and hopefully next meeting we'll have more of an update on some of the things. I think there, some of the smaller items, he actually did come to look at the light post this past week. And it's very dry now, so if there is any time that he was going to try to take those posts out, it would probably need to be soon. It is the one that's going over the pond, they'll be very problematic. He said it definitely needs to come out, so we'll see what happens. But I do appreciate Bill having done this work and being working with us. Chris, do you have any questions?
I know some of the graffiti's been painted over.
Okay.
Like the smaller pieces that were on like the dugouts and so forth.
Oh, okay.
That's been covered.
Maybe not by him, maybe one of our.
Well, I know there was a plan to have, there was a student that needed some community service
Mhm.
or something, so that may have taken place through Bill.
Okay.
But there is still, I think, graffiti over on like that little cement hut. It's over in the old skate park area and stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
And I did see it at the school too. There is some at the high school still.
Oh, and that hasn't been taken care of yet.
Yeah, it's up on that cement wall that runs up to the bleachers along the kind of the driveway that behind the school over the, you can see the same name on the top of the cement wall.
Let's be proper, Chris. The same art. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other comments about DPW Director updates? Oh, okay. All right, Recreation Director updates. Rob,
Yes, you all hear me.
we can
Alright,
hear you.
All right. So the town beach final day is going to be Sunday, August 28th.
Now we can't hear you.
Now
Oh,
you
you
just
can't- let me-
faded out.
Now
There you
just
go.
about-
You just
Can you hear me?
gotta get closer.
Yeah.
All right.
now we can.
All right. Fine. Over to this. I'll just go straight to the computer. The beach house will be closing Sunday, August 28th. There will be no more staff except one person after the 28th. Everybody will be returning to school. So I already notified all the parties that were involved for the porta potties and as well as the phones and the hotspots. I'll be securing the facilities of all that equipment right after, the following week. I did do exiting interviews with half the staff, and that information was pretty much the same thing. First aid equipment and some of the lifeguard equipment can be updated or replenished. We still have this Saturday, the cardboard boat race at 6 p.m. Saturday, August 20th. Next week is MA sports program, starts Monday, and that is the 7 to 12-year-olds multi-sport program. The issues that with the Little League, they told me they sent a check out. We were able to find that, I guess, a check was sent out. It got returned to them, so they will be issuing out another check to resolve their summer, to finish off the season. And for fall programming, we'll be doing kids crafting and movies, as well as I'm getting the Lemonster. I think it's the air plants and succulents. I got to speak with this lady. She would like to work with us, but she happened to have vertigo the day I called her, and she is still yet to call me back. I would like to put on, as well as adult basketball pickup games and ultimate Frisbee. And for the seniors, I'm gonna have walks and historical walks. I'm still trying to work with the Historical Society if somebody wants to jump on that. I don't really have anybody from the Historical Society yet who's offered their time, as well as bike maintenance and free tune-ups for minor repairs. I would like to have in September as well.
Rob, did you reach out to Bill Tyler?
Can you hear me?
Yep. Did you reach out to Bill Tyler from Historical?
I'm sorry. Hold on here. Okay, I'm having technical difficulties. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
We can hear you. Can you
Okay.
hear us?
Yeah, now I can. I didn't realize I wasn't hearing anybody. Where did I leave off with you?
Yeah, did you reach out to Bill Tyler on Historical Society?
I reached out to the Historical Society, not Bill Tyler, but I'll write his name down. So
I'll ping him right now. I'll let you know what he says.
yeah, awesome. They've been really good to me in the beginning. It's just for me to interact with them, their hours are like, I want to say every other Wednesday.
Yeah.
Bill
Yep.
Tyler.
For the basketball, just be mindful, usually the school ends up doing it's been a men's basketball, like a Monday nights league that starts
Yep.
sometime in the fall. That's through
Okay.
the Director of Community Schools or whatever, but there used to be a women's league. And I don't know what happened to that. Like years back, they used to play down at primary school, I think. But there hasn't been anything on the women's side that I'm aware of for a while. But I know typically, I'm sure Jeremiah has organized it with the school, is probably on top of that again to get it off the ground again in the fall. But that's indoor. Typically, I feel like that starts closer to the end of I think it's early fall. I think it's closer to either the end of fall or like November.
Yeah.
And then runs into the spring. The Director of Community Schools did set up soccer with us again too, so that there is pickup soccer on Sunday afternoons through the school. That'll start after Labor Day.
Excellent.
Rob,
right,
I have some questions. I mean, you were
Sure.
kind of going quickly on those. The cardboard race, how many registrations do you have?
We have 6.
6.
But those are individual participants, but so far that would be 2 teams.
So you only have 2 teams registered?
Correct.
Okay. All right.
And what are our numbers for what are our numbers for camp next week, Rob?
For the beach season,
No, what are our numbers for the camp, the 7 to 12-year-old camp next week?
as of right now, we have 7 signed up. We have to reach the minimum of 10.
And what are you doing to reach those to get more people?
I am sending out emails as well as promoting through Facebook. So it's
You use the present tense there. I am sending out emails.
okay.
When are you, or will you, or have you?
Yes, tomorrow I will be updating that as well. I have sent out another reiteration of the email signups. Still nobody signed up, and I'm going to keep on pushing it until I want to say until the end of.
I have not received any emails.
You have not received anything.
Right.
I
So I
did.
don't think you are sending. I didn't. And so that's right there. Did you post it on the town beach?
I do have a flyer on the town beach as well.
But if it's going to start next week and you only have 7 as of now, isn't tomorrow the deadline?
Yes, at the end of tomorrow will be the deadline.
So you have not sent the emails, you have not pushed.
I
on
have been
Facebook.
I have been pushing it. I've been pushing it last week as well. I'm definitely
Can you be
up with the
specific about
advertising.
What have you done specifically?
I posted it on Facebook as well as the email.
When you
The
posted on
email
Facebook,
spread.
where did you, like, that's saying you post on Facebook, it's like World Wide Web. That's,
Lunenburg Recreation.
have you posted on any other groups? Because we
No,
have talked about
I'm
this.
yeah. It's one thing to get these things organized. Another thing to market. I have not been in other groups posting per se, but
It's this is on you to be successful with it. You have a link to three groups in town that are very active, and that's how you got the one sports camp that ran was the one that I posted, and that was successful. It is literally 3 groups that you can upload the one JPEG file. And if you haven't done it, and you know about this for a while, I'm not sure you will be doing it. Like, I don't think anyone is going to see post tomorrow, Robin. Actually do it. Like, right? I mean,
well,
you've been
yeah.
posting for more than a month.
Yeah. No, I have been pushing it. It has no traction. I think it has to do with either the August of return to school. To me, I'm putting it out as much as I can through that resource, but I will post it on other.
I have to say, you're saying you're being pushing and putting out there, but when I ask you specifically, what are the things that you've been doing to be pushing and putting out there? I don't hear a lot. I did not receive an email. I'm registered to the website. It's not posted on any of the groups that actually have reach. So I don't think that we can actually count those things as have been pushing. And so let's just be honest, I don't think you're gonna get 3 more people if you haven't gotten so far.
So I can raise my hand, Donna, but can I just throw something in? So he did send out an email. I got it through, and I let him know that I received it. I got it through the MyRec. But I want to make a general statement here. And at this point, I'm super frustrated. We ran into issues last year where we had programs canceled at the last minute. It reflects poorly on us as the Parks Commission because we're the ones that are the face, we're the face of our Parks Commission. And it is very discouraging to me when, when I hear these numbers and know that tomorrow is Thursday, that these programs are supposed to start on Monday. There are 7 children out there whose parents or guardians think that they have something set up for them next week. And here we are canceling them on them last minute. And I am greatly concerned about that. Rob, is the minimum being set by us or is it being set by MA Sports?
It's being set by the vendor.
So it needs to go out again, and a reminder needs to be given. If this is really a 7 to 12-year-old age range, it needs to be reflective of that when you post it on Facebook, because right now it's only 8 to 12 that's reflected on Facebook. So if I have a 7-year-old and I go to that, I see it, I'm not going to click on it. But I'm wondering if you can go back to MA Sports and ask what the, if they could bend for us on this. And, hopefully it's a lesson for future that, this stuff really needed to be advertised months ago.
It has been.
Okay, so I haven't
if
seen
it's-
it. So, I'm just, and I don't want to debate what you are or are not doing, because I don't think that's fair. I don't think you're here to necessarily defend yourself. I'm just saying that I have not seen anything prior to August 10th put out. I saw it on the website, but until it leaves the website, and people don't go onto our site looking for stuff because there honestly just hasn't been anything. So I think that, it needs to be pushed out, whether it's an email directly from my rec, the day that you put it into the system, whatever it is. But when I go back on Facebook, I don't see anything prior to August 10th. So if people are following along only on Facebook, they knew a week ago that this program was happening. So I don't want the masses upset with us again that we're canceling programs last minute like this. We did it to them last year, and I know it was difficult. I just don't want to see it have to happen again this year.
Yeah, neither do I. I would, if I had a facility where I could be directly in and facilitate these programs directly on my own, I would certainly keep on trying to. The workload is increased exponentially. I'm working on my finances as well as the parks finances. Everything that gets spent through, it's time consuming for sure. For marketing directly, I have not been the best at navigating either Facebook or my rec. And as these problems get resolved, I'm realizing that I have not been in the correct areas. And I'm hoping to iron that out in this next, this next month. If there are issues, I'm sure I'm going to, see them as we go on. I'm testing it. I'm on the sites. I check my emails. You received an email, so we are resolving issues as we move forward.
Let's talk about what you have coming up. You talked about doing the succulents, the guided walks. What else did you say for the fall?
For crafting for the adults, ultimate Frisbee.
Okay, so let's do one thing. So crafting, what is the timeline that you're planning to do that?
I would like to have that in the second week of September. I'm waiting for her to get back to me, and that's, I guess, my determination when I can fit her in.
Okay. And the ultimate Frisbee, what is your plan on the timeline on that?
That would be in the roughly around the third week of September.
Is that one off, or is that
I would like to do at least twice in the week if we can, and that's going to be based off of I'm going to put it out there as a twice a week and for 2 weeks, and if it gets any traction, that's when I'll decide on, like, if it's something that viable, we can move into October.
Okay, well, yeah, all right. I'm also a little frustrated. We haven't really seen much, but good luck. Let me know if you need any help.
Thank you.
I saw a softball that was happening in Marshall Park. Maybe it was a Tuesday night, maybe a couple weeks ago. Do you know of any league using Marshall Park right now?
I do not know. That's the first I've heard of it.
Okay. Can you send an email out to the league and ask them about it?
I can do that.
Okay.
You know, what was it? Pickup soft? Was it like pickup
Nope, it
softball?
was
on
a
it? Do you
game.
know, like
It was a game.
it was a
It
game?
was a game.
And the portable potties at McNally was there. Do you know, last meeting we talked about that, this, did you reach out to the Little League to have them removed? Because
Yes,
is
they
it
are.
over?
They are gone.
They're gone? Okay,
Yes.
okay. All right, okay. So you went through all of those things really quickly, so I just had these questions. All right, what else you got?
I have the numbers for the beach, the revenue that's we've done this year, this season.
Okay,
Start with the day passes, non-residents, we sold 76. I don't know if you want the total amounts, but I can do that
no,
as well.
this is, you can break it down that way.
Okay. The day resident pass, we sold 155.
Okay,
155?
Yes.
Okay.
And the senior passes, the resident senior pass was 19 and the non-residents were only 2.
okay.
As well as the non-resident beach pass, we sold 31 for the family passes. The resident family passes, we sold 108. I guess we're at the
I think that's it, right?
yeah, I think that is it right there.
How many swim lessons did we sell?
The swim lesson packages, hold on here. Let me pull up those numbers. I'm sorry, I don't have that immediately up.
So remember on our last meeting, Rob, I had asked you if there was any undercharge for the sale of the swim lessons, and you said there wasn't. Oh, I think you got disconnected.
I'm
Are you
back.
back?
I am. Can you hear me?
Okay, I can hear you. Can you, so last meeting I had asked you about the swim lessons, if there was anyone who was incorrectly charged. And you had said there was one person, but it got fixed. And I asked you if there was anyone who was undercharged, and you
Yes.
said you didn't know. Well,
No,
I had
I did know.
what did you have? You said that there wasn't any undercharged, right?
No, I did say there was an undercharge. Individual.
I
They
can't
signed up
hear
for-
you.
Can you hear me?
No, I can, yeah.
Okay. They signed up for a swim lesson, but they never bought the beach pass. And she had a conflict with buying the beach pass. She didn't feel like she had to buy the beach pass, and I told her that.
So Rob, I'm going to interrupt you because you know what? I think this conversation needs to be probably taken offline at this point and sit down with the powers that be, because I personally know of somebody that was only charged $25 for one child for swim lessons, because when both of her children were added to the cart, it only charged for one. And I know that the beach staff was aware of this, and I am positive that it was brought to somebody's attention that set up my rec, because I think that it was eventually fixed. So I believe that there's probably 9-ish kids that have registered for swim lessons that didn't get charged for swim lessons. In the grand scheme, it's not a huge sum of money. It's not going to break the bank, but this kind of stuff, it is so frustrating to be a year into working with you, almost a year into working with you. And a lot of these little things are still going on. And I have been doing this now since 1996, since 2016. I have put everything that I have forward for this commission to try to make a better programming for our community. And when I have people in the community saying to me, we weren't charged right, that is extremely frustrating to me. It looks poorly on myself. And again, I'm not here to try to pick up the slack of everybody else. You were doing what I did for a number of years. You have some greater responsibilities in the financial side, because as a volunteer, I didn't have to do purchase orders and stuff, but I dealt with swim lessons. I dealt with the beach registrations. None of this was new to me. And yeah, there was a learning curve to it, but for me to be sitting with my neighbor last week on my back porch and have her tell me that she wasn't charged correctly for swim lessons after that question was specifically asked last month, and it goes into a revolving account that is under the responsibility, or falls under the Parks Commission. I am extremely frustrated by this. So I think there needs to be a bigger conversation on how all of this is going down, because this is, I'm taking it personally at this point that my reputation is being put out there, and it's not what I expect people to look at me and say they're still screwing up. And I'm extremely agitated that we may be canceling a program next week after we have 7 registrations. And I don't have any other words for it. So that's my 2 cents on that. Thanks, Anna.
Okay, Rob, so in light of that, I think the commission, we need an audit of the sales. So maybe export out the sales data and send it to us.
Okay. I can do that.
And because, you didn't last month, you said that there was no issues of undercharging. Now we know that is, and yeah, I share Karen's frustration in every level. Okay. All right, Rob, what else you got?
That, like I said, I did not pull up the swim lesson data.
Okay. What is the total revenue for sales so far?
13,000.
13
Oh.
even?
Oh, hold on here. That's for just the beach passes. Let me just give me a second here. So as of today, we are at 17,979.
Okay. All right, that's good. All right, okay, that's good. That's all I got. All right, does anybody have any other questions or comments for Rob?
Rob, on the ultimate Frisbee front, there was a, I don't know how many years ago now. I got to see if I can find the contact. There's a woman in town, lives right around the corner from me, who had organized some ultimate Frisbee, and I don't remember if it was through the school or through the rec department. We had played on kind of that open field behind Turkey Hill.
All right.
It was small. It wasn't a significant group of people, but I know she had played, in like a league in Boston, I think, or Cambridge or something like that, and had interest in trying to do something out here. So I'll try and find that information. I was doing a quick search now and I didn't see anything, but I know who the woman is, so I can check with her and
All right.
kind of see what the story is with that, and maybe see if that's something she's interested in getting involved in, and put her in touch with you if she is, or something like that.
That'd be great.
Okay.
Dave, do you have something?
Nope, I'm fine. I'd like us to move on though, please.
Okay. All right. So that's all. Beach director update. I don't see Liz here. Jared, do you have any updates for us?
Can you hear me all right?
We can hear you.
All right. Nothing major since we last talked. I know Liz was unfortunately not able to come tonight, but overall, we just finished second session of swim lessons like a week or two ago. Those went well. As Rob mentioned, boat race, 2 registrations for that. Obviously, we'll make do with how it goes, but overall, nothing's really changed since we last talked.
Guess that's a good thing, right?
I take it as a good thing,
That's good.
but yeah, nothing's really changed in that regard. Everything's been going to plan on our end.
Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you. Any questions for Jared? From anyone? Okay. All right, thank you, Jared. All right, moving on to our next items, capital planning request for FY24. I have 3 projects in mind, and I can speak last if anybody have any thoughts. Karen?
I have a million.
You have a million?
I have a million. Let me see if I have give me 1 second. I started taking notes. Let me see if I can find them real quick. McNally, I think, okay, I have it right here. So McNally Park, the snack shack there, as everybody remembers, we had voted to demolition it because it was structurally not sound. So it would be nice to maybe put or consider putting McNally Park with on there so that we could get a snack shack and some bathroom facilities over there, possibly even pave the McNally lot. By paving it, we'd be able to have some ADA compliant spots. Let's see. Veterans Park, town manager had reached out to me, I think before I handed the reins over to Anna, saying that veterans needed some work. I don't know if that could be considered. The small pocket park area at the town beach. That may be something we want to wait, of course, to figure out what's going to happen with the town beach house. And then over at Fitzgerald's, it needs a regrade and some redo of the outfield. And this, we have no signage there again. I don't know what, it was taken down last fall. I think it was last fall, and nothing's been put back up. So I have redo field at Fitzgerald Park with signage, and possibly consider some sort of shelter over there. Just a weather style shelter, nothing fancy.
So Fitzgerald, you're talking about regrading?
And like just doing the fields, I think that they're I know the outfield's in pretty tough condition.
Okay. And what did you say about Veterans Park?
So town manager had sent an email to me before I handed the reins over to you, saying that veterans needed some work. I asked her to clarify. There's some landscaping that needs to be done with some trees that have sort of started to grow in and close in the area. The pavers need some attention. I don't know the price tag on that, so I don't know if that's something that would even qualify. But I just figured I'd add it to the list.
Okay.
Branch fell out of a tree and hit somebody on Memorial Day.
Excuse me?
There was a branch that fell out of the tree and landed on somebody on
Oh.
Memorial Day. It was a
Oh,
small
Mario?
branch, but it
They
was
okay?
yes, yeah, totally fine. Yeah. Things were like over and people were starting to walk out, I think. It was a small branch that fell out of the tree.
Pat, do you have something?
No, I do not have anything.
Okay. All right, Dave?
Yeah, I haven't had really a chance to settle down in my brain what we should be going after. I think a lot of what was just previously mentioned, number one, some of the projects are care and maintenance, so they are not appropriate for capital. The other is that McNally and Fitzgerald, there needs to be a vetted proposal put together before it will be considered on the capital plan. So I mean, I see all those things needing to be done. I see them in a 5-year capital plan and, you know, probably could be vetted to get onto the list next year. But I don't see pulling together enough information for those things for this coming budget season, just knowing the capital planning system and being on that committee. I think McNally should be our next large focus, concurrent with getting Marshall off the ground. So I would like to see us take similar steps at McNally as we have at Marshall. And I'd like to see us get the a survey plan done of that property, and maybe I'm not sure what to do about Fitzgerald. With you know, yeah, we're maintaining it, but we don't have care and custody. So it's kind of weird to say that we're gonna, you know, put a capital project forward as the Parks Commission on property we don't have care and custody of. So I don't know where you go with that. Those are my thoughts right at the moment. As I said, I think Marshall needs to be our focus. And, you know, judging from the meeting last night with the Board of Selectmen and the meeting that you guys attended last week or the week before, it looks like there's substantial support for the Marshall project, but we really need to be figuring out where the funding is going to come from. Town manager did have a couple of items on her list with the ARPA funding, including the dealing with the bathroom facilities at Marshall. I need to go back and listen to what she said exactly again to know for sure exactly what she was talking about. But it sounds like we're going to see a chunk of money come out of ARPA for Marshall Park, and it's going to be specifically earmarked for Marshall, not going to be for general parks. I think of any building, of any project that really needs to be, we should attempt to move forward as quickly as possible, I guess, would be the town beach building. But I'm not sure, again, if the town manager is ready to expedite that process to make it into this budget cycle. You know, without that building repaired before next season, we're going to have another issue. But that is what it is.
You know, a couple comments on what you said, Dave.
Yep.
I think, you know, I definitely not as familiar as you are on some of the process for capital planning, but there might be some low-hanging fruit items that we might be able to get done and push forward on this season. You know, I think and we do have some idea of prices, but if, you know, everything has changed prices because of the inflation and of course demand and construction. But for example, McNally, you know, the restroom facility, well, that facility is going to be demolished. We have some idea of cost from the information we got from Marshall Park. And so that's a really good starting point, as good as anything pretty much is going to be before we start. I think there'll be other pieces to that. But I think there might be a few things that we can probably get going. I wouldn't take it that this year's capital planning is a watch for us. I definitely wouldn't. I guess that's my point.
Yeah, Anna, if I could, just to be sure you're all aware, the minimum dollar amount for a capital project is $20,000.
Right.
So you just need to be aware of that.
20 or
and there are
25?
I believe we set it at 20, but I will double check on that. We increased it this past fiscal year. I thought it was 20, but we kicked so many numbers around on that. I will double check because it's in the financial policies
Yeah, last time
for the
I
Board of
read,
Selectmen.
it was 20, unless it has been updated since, because I think you guys.
Yeah,
have-
no, we haven't changed it because that would be capital planning recommending to the Board of Selectmen. So there's a whole process to change that number, and
Okay.
that has not taken place.
Yeah, so it was 20. Okay. Chris, do you have any fabulous ideas?
I love what Karen said about the, in terms of McNally, the paving and a restroom, maybe things like that. Like, I think that's a great thought over there. It'll make, I think, maintenance of that area a little bit easier. If it's paved as well, as opposed to just kind of this gravel lot. And, just kind of neatens that area up a little bit. I don't know what the cost is that goes into the basketball court situation down at Wallace, like how much that would cost to really do that the right way. Clearly it wasn't done the right way previously.
Talk
So I
with
don't
Bill about that, because that's
know
on
what
his
goes into that.
list.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's on his list. So he might come back. That might be how he will address that issue.
Yeah,
That's a good
not sure of
thought.
that. I know we mentioned in the past, I think it's definitely needs to stay on our radar, but the Northfield property, getting a survey done over there, the Northfield property. While I agree that McNally is definitely something that we need to work on, but we're continuing to see the need for rectangular space, and multi-purpose fields in this town. And this, I think it's kind of defaults to us of the land that we have to make that start to happen. So that's Northfield property is definitely towards the top of my list. Or, there's rumblings of other plans that lie around and so forth in different places and whatnot. So wherever they are, to find rectangular space and fields and so forth to start to tackle those issues. But I know, we have that space at Northfield. So I think it's, important for us to start to look at what we're going to do with that. And that survey piece is obviously one of the first steps that we need to do to tackle that.
Okay.
That's what I have. And then the beach house, the only thing that I had written down, and I don't know, obviously it needs repair, but are we, I hate to just repair it and do what's there. Like, is there something that we can do with that space in some capacity that maybe is, I don't know if
So
I
I
want to say
think we're-
revenue generating in some point or whatnot, or like make it a function,
Right.
a function space, cleaning up the other side of the, that's, where the picnic tables are, but kind of just thinking bigger picture, I guess, on the beach house a little bit. But what can we do in that space to, make it more, user friendly, functional, have it be a spot that people could use and want to use for functions or birthdays, or I don't know.
Okay, so that's what I was gonna ask you. You're thinking, can that space be transformed to a year-round space?
It potentially could be year round. Yeah, I mean, it's something, you put, windows overlooking the water, whatever, you have ice fishing. We have, I mean, I don't,
Right.
I'm
No,
not
I
sure,
like
but I mean, we have, people go out there with their snowmobiles, and can there be a Parks and Rec hot chocolate, blah, blah, blah,
Right.
whatever, at the beach house. But make it a spot that could be functional, and potentially revenue generating, albeit not much, of course, but a snowmobile group that wants to host a hot chocolate, whatever, they could rent out the facility and have a have a thing there. People can have birthday parties there. They could have different aspects. So just maybe beyond just repair of what's there kind of deal is the more just the more I think about that kind of thing. So,
Oh,
but those are my thoughts.
okay. No, I like that. So On my list was survey of the Northfield property, because I think that was on top of my list. And the McNally facilities, because I think if we're building anything there, we can probably connect to sewer and maybe even have a proper snack shack there. I think any construction that goes there would probably be something that would be more, more than what it is. Because I think what it is there now is, it's really just it's a shack. It doesn't really meet much. But my top priority was definitely the survey of the Northfield property, and try to explore if we can do something for McNally this time around. Karen, or was Dave who mentioned that McNally may be doing a survey for the property? Why? Or maybe it was Dave. Dave, why were you thinking of a survey of the property?
Because I think that would be the first step in doing anything over there, because we need to know where the boundaries are. We've got a potential of moving the T-ball field over there, so we need to know if it's, what we've got for space behind those residents on Wajour Ave. That is I think it's 150 feet wide and 400 or 500 feet long, if I remember correctly. So I believe there's plenty of space for a T-ball field, expanded parking, and yes, we have very easy access to sewer because it runs down Wajour Ave. So it's literally 20 feet in the road from where that existing building is now. But I don't think we should start piecemealing stuff over at McNally. I think we should be looking at a well thought out plan that gets phased. And I don't disagree with paving the parking lot, but I don't think we do it before we have a little bit of an idea as to whether or not there's any adjustments needed to be made to the field. I don't believe there will be, but that's something to consider. And the other piece being is if we do in fact move the T-ball field over there, then there's going to be additional paving needed for parking area towards the rear of the property with access further down Wajour Ave to accommodate that. So, and we're in, as I believe you all know, we're in initial talks with the water district as to what we might be able to partner with them for use of their property going forward. And that's a future use. That's nothing, nothing in the next year or so, I would guess.
Okay.
So that was what I was going to suggest, Anna, if the group agrees, is that I agree that the survey of Northfield Park is very important. But I think if we put both parks together as one item, I think that would fly, and it will give us the boundaries of both properties. The other thing.
So you're thinking like survey of parks, and that be for McNally and Northfield? Yeah,
you'd have to specify it in the request that it's for those two facilities, and it's fairly easy to get an estimate of what that would cost by calling, one of the civil engineering firms locally, and they could give you a ballpark number to shoot for, and Bill would have contacts also that could get a number fairly quickly for that type of an item.
Okay. All
That
right.
makes sense, Dave. I like that. And I did write that down too, like a new T-ball field. Could it be near McNally somewhere? Like, is there space over there? Like, how far over does that
It's a
property
weird
go
shaped
towards the
property,
apartments and
Chris.
things like that?
Yeah, it's a weird shaped property. It's and you'd have to look on it online. I just wanted to sort of throw in there too, as I was just listening to Dave, in the survey of Northfield and McNally, it may be worth the while to get a survey sooner than later on that Northfield property. I can't remember what's already been done over there, if there was even a survey done, but my husband's listening in on this call, so I have a feeling he's going to text me and say, I told you so. But there's another potential project going in up behind Walmart. If you remember, like a couple of town meetings ago, there was that whole discussion on the hydroponic gardens, lettuce growing plants. I guess there's another project that's up there now. And if we knew where our boundaries were, we would be able to open up some conversations and see if, as part of them coming into town, we could get access into Northfield, into the Northfield Park from that section, from that side of town, because that would, I think they're accessing it off a two-way, aren't they, Dave? Have you followed
They're
that?
going, well, off of 2A, but they're going through Hannaford's.
Yeah, so
Hannaford's access. They're not creating a new access. They're coming down to the Walmart traffic light.
gotcha. So, I don't know, it might just be something that,
What is it that's going in there? Do we know?
I don't know what it is.
It's a very, very similar operation. It's another hydroponics operation. I actually went to a meeting that the Economic Development Committee put together, and I did get a chance to speak to one of the representatives and asked him to, or reminded him that we abut that property and we would really like to be part of the conversation this time around where we were not the last time.
Right.
Karen, when you get or any of you, when you get a chance, take a look on GIS maps, because something doesn't look right to me. They've adjusted the conservation land to indicate that that transfer of property was actually done, and I don't believe it was, to connect the conservation land with our land. I could be wrong, but I don't believe that was executed. But anyway, yes, and I did make that comment to one of the representatives from that entity that, we'd be very interested in something similar to what had been proposed in the previous project, and that being a piece of property and access, and maybe even a little bit more better access, as we were just talking about, to directly be able to maybe even park on a small piece of property that they would give to us that could connect both the conservation, or there may be a better spot that we go from their property directly into the Saliva property and not worry about connecting the conservation land. There's a lot of possibilities, but there's nothing, the conversations haven't even started yet.
So isn't what I hear about McNally, generally speaking, is that we feel like we want to go through a process similar that we did with Marshall Park? Create sort of a mini master plan. I mean, it's to create a conceptual design what the park would look like.
Yeah, that I don't think we're going to need as big a project and need to call it a master plan. I think it would be the next phase for McNally, and upgrade and renovations, and try to do it systematically and thoughtfully so that we get what we need out of the additional property that we now see we own there. And also at the same time be talking with the water district to see what they're willing to partner on with their property, which abuts it. But they're interested in knowing where the property lines are also, because that's the next thing Karen and I are tasked to do when we, go back to meet with them in September, is to have some overhead visuals of the property and so on and so forth, because the commissioners couldn't envision exactly what we were talking about because they haven't seen the layout of the land. But
So I like the idea of combining things, so for McNally, I mean, Marshall is a big property, right? And it has
Right.
a lot of uses, and we did want to, add uses for it. I don't think that's what we're looking to do in McNally. But that first phase where we created a conceptual design where, there was some there was conceptualization of what we wanted to go and maybe adding the T-ball. Maybe that can be a project like McNally survey and conceptual design of upgrades can be the one capital plan project.
Yeah. Anna, that might be a good idea if that combined brings us to at least a $20,000
Right.
minimum. That's why I was tying the two together,
Right.
because McNally just as a survey will not be $20,000. But if you
Right.
add the conceptual to it, I agree, that might be a standalone, and then you do Northfield Park as a separate one.
Right, because
Town manager might have a different take on it and
Mhm.
might want us to combine them, but you know, either direction sounds like a good path.
right, because what I like about trying to add this conceptual design to McNally is that it gives us two things with one staff. Right, we move the project a little further versus just getting the survey and then having to go back and try to reimagine. Okay,
I agree.
and the Northfield
Also
property,
potentially addressing the T-ball issue
right,
that ties in with Marshall Park as well. If we can address
Right.
that over there and show movement on that front as well, that's a step in the right direction, I think, for us.
yeah, and the Northfield Park survey, that one, because that property I'm imagining is as big as Marshall Park, will probably have similar pricing, or no?
Yeah, Anna, it's double that. It's 56.7 acres or
Okay.
something like that. I was just on GIS 2 days ago. That's why I know
Okay.
it's quite a bit larger.
So the survey of Northfield property will probably can be a standalone project.
Easily a standalone project.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So, okay, the other thing that I'll say is regarding Fitzgerald, the regrading, the Veterans Park, the basketball court, those projects seem to be a little bit of care and maintenance. And what I can do is maybe I'll add those to builds to that spreadsheet that I shared earlier. But I'm gonna try to go a little further, and for the Veterans Park, Chris or anyone, would anyone like to maybe do a field trip with me to Veterans Park and maybe come up with a list of, what are the specific things that need some of, what I'm envisioning is maybe to do a going to these parks and maybe making a solid list of this larger care and maintenance, so Bill knows what to address. And I think he will address it. I think it's harder, he knows how to build bridges. And I think if we give him these more specific directions, he'll know how to address it.
We are
Maybe-
on the verge of hiring a facilities director. If the offer wasn't extended,
Oh, okay. And do you
Said
think that person will be
all
on,
of our facilities will move to him.
right, but do you think
Wonder
that
if-
person will have the abilities and the skills and the knowledge to maybe look at
Hopefully.
the parks? Okay,
Hopefully.
all right, so, okay. So my suggestion is I'll add the Fitzgerald Park information, the Veterans Park, to the spreadsheet and start communicating with Bill and see where we go with the new facilities director. The basketball court is already there. The town beach house, now town manager had set up some money aside for that. So I don't think that necessarily needs to be our project, our request. I'll see where she's at.
So
If she's-
let me throw two things out on there on that. So the Dave, you should have I'm assuming you already have a copy of it. So the whole list of capital items that they reviewed, part of what they reviewed at last night's select board meeting, it actually has the town beach on there with no money amount. It's my understanding that the money that she originally had earmarked to go towards that building was what was remaining in the parks line item in the DPW budget. Am I correct in that, Dave?
Yes, you are correct. It was in the vicinity of $27,000, $26,000. And
I don't know. what
I'll wait
happens,
for the next step.
yeah, I don't know what happens to that money though. Like, so I'm not sure it's earmarked anymore, Anna, because that fiscal year closed. She was gonna use the money from last fiscal year, and I don't know if it can be, I don't know how she did it. So you might want to verify where that funding's coming up, and it's not gonna be enough money anyway. It's
Right.
the beach house is gonna end up on the capital plan, and I actually think that it will probably end up on the capital plan for this coming year. I can't imagine waiting on it. She has a ballpark number because she has the estimate that came in
Right.
that was much higher than she thought it was gonna be. So,
Okay.
you know,
So,
Yeah, my understanding, and again, it needs to be verified, is that there's no interest in spending $53,000 just to repair a wall and a few ceilings. So the focus, I believe, is a bigger project of total renovation of the building or replacement of the building. So there, you're talking a big dollar amount. Anna, when you talk with town manager, my understanding was that the $27,000 was encumbered with the anticipation that it would be enough to repair the beach building, but it was not, and they have chosen not to move forward with that. So I think it flows back to free cash, but verify that with her.
okay, yeah, okay. So yes, and I'll float with her the idea of, if that's the path we're going with the beach house, can we make that into since we're spending the money, a bigger project? Can we envision other things? That's going to be my request for her. Okay. All right.
One other very
Go
quick comment on the beach house, and I was going to try to slide it in earlier. It is on the ARPA list that the Board of Selectmen put together last night, specifically the beach house, but I don't know where that's going to end up in the final process.
Right. Yeah, okay. So I think what we're left with the list that we talked about for FY24 is the survey of the Northfield property and the survey and conceptual design of McNally.
Yep.
Is okay. So what I'll do is I'll try to put some information together, and I'm going to request a meeting with town manager. And sooner, because I have a few other things that I want to
do we need
discuss
to
with her.
put the Marshall Park, the next like the next design process of Marshall Park, does that need to go in as an official capital request? Where
So I was
ahead.
gonna talk with, I was gonna cover that with us on our next item because, okay. Well, can we just wrap those two items? Is that an agreement with the board? I don't think we need a vote, that we'll pursue those two larger
Yeah, that makes
projects
sense.
and communicate.
Did you say
Bill?
something Anna, about meeting at Veterans? I'm okay meeting you at Veterans some night or whatever, if you want to do that.
Okay.
from a-
Yeah,
from a
what Karen
repair
said is we are going to have
process
a
kind of stuff.
facilities director. Maybe that, I don't know.
Yeah, I
Chris,
know
if
if we
you
want
want
to
to
just go
help
get
me,
ideas and go look.
yeah.
that's fine.
Well,
I'm
if
willing
you
do
want to
that
help
some
me,
night on the-
yeah,
on the-
because what I
Sunday
think is this new person is going to come in is going to have a whole list of things to do. If we give them a little bit more information, it'll be easier for us to be a priority.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
if you could meet with me,
Yeah.
and Dave too, like, I think Fitzgerald is another one that if we make a little list of specific things, it'll be easier for them to do it versus us sending them there and them having to figure out what it is that we're talking about. Okay.
Yep.
I can send an email out after this meeting just with a few dates. And
We should be
whoever,
careful how we're meeting, so we don't have a meeting.
right, it will be two people. And it doesn't have to be me. If you and Dave wants to go down and just create a quick to-do list, what I had envisioned is trim, branches of this and that, fix pavers, clear off the brush here.
Yeah.
Bang, that's what I'm figuring that we would give them the list.
Yep.
Okay,
Anna, we're going to need to do that at Marshall too at some point because we have dead trees along the access roads in from 2A. We have some definite liability that needs to be addressed, and that could be part of the tree management program funding that's in the budget every year, things like that.
Okay.
So, at some point, we're gonna need to walk around with Bill or whoever, and maybe the new facilities director, because that's gonna have to be addressed. We're gonna have trees falling on people or on their cars driving in there.
Yeah, okay. Maybe for Marshall. Okay, let me make a note. Marshall.
Well, actually, if you don't mind, if you could put that on the spreadsheet, and then,
Yeah.
we can expand it from there.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking is these Fitzgerald and veterans, I was going to add to the spreadsheet. And now we can add Marshall too. I will add those three and I'll look for us to create a specifics for them. And we can plan off this meeting when to meet. And if we have more than 2 people meeting, we can just post an agenda. And I think, the more people are in the room, sometimes you tend to get a really good conversation, and I think that's great. Okay. And now have a meeting with the town manager to discuss the 2 projects that we talked about. Any other comments about these projects? Because then I wanted to talk about town meeting warrant and Marshall and what to do with the next phase. Nope. All right. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is town meeting warrant. And that goes a little bit with what Karen was talking about, where is the new Marshall, where's the money for the next phase coming? And I personally feel that I would like this money for the engineering to come in sooner than later. Yesterday, Karen Brosho gave a presentation about what's available for the next budget and includes her estimate for free cash. And this year for free cash, Lunenburg had a lot more than we ever did. And this coming year, it's projected to be even more. So I feel like even though town manager has said that she usually doesn't request funding of any major project as large as what the engineering cost would be at the special town meeting, I feel like we as a commission could make a case that we'd like. When I watched the meeting yesterday regarding ARPA funding, I thought they would be talking about what would be their process for awarding or for deciding where the funds were going to be. And we would then understand what was their timeline, but they did not talk about that. They talked about what are the projects that are online that they're thinking about doing and where to prioritize the money. And I love the conversation because Marshall Park was there, and it was in everybody's mind. And Peter Beardmore from the finance committee came and spoke, and he said, I think the majority should be for Marshall Park. So I think there's a really good momentum behind Marshall Park, but we need to get this next phase done sooner than later. And because yesterday they didn't talk about timeline, I think we need to push as a commission to possibly get that next phase done, the funding on the special town meeting. So I wanted to hear everybody's thoughts on that. Dave, you're good with the finances. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm not sure how many listened all the way to the end of the select board meeting last evening, but there was a public comment specifically about our commission going after taxpayers' money. So we are going to need to be aware of that and what we have said up to this point on the Marshall project. I'm at fault for part of it, although I'm going to go back and get my exact quote. In any case, I think we need to tread lightly on going after taxpayers' money. If the commission votes as a majority to do something, as you mentioned just now, that's fine. I'll help support it. But I'm not sure if we're going to we'll generate a little bit of pushback, but I don't think it'll be huge. And I just drew myself into a tunnel.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we ever, I don't recall. I know what the trouble comment you're talking about, Dave.
Yeah.
Um,
And-
but I don't think,
And I'm sorry, go ahead, finish.
no, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I need to go back to the meeting that I had and exchange directly with that person and see exactly how I responded, because I remember it a little bit broader and I want to get it right before I make any comments about it.
Okay,
Also, ARPA funding, I don't remember the exact month, but all the money needs to be committed by, Karen, do you remember the month? I know it's 2024.
I think
And
it's
I've got
December.
December, okay.
Yep.
So every penny needs to be committed by that point, or it goes back to the federal government, and it needs to be expended by the end of 26.
Right.
So there's a built-in timeline to it, but I agree. I'm not sure how fast the select board's going to move forward.
Right. So here's the thing. I think what we have always said as a commission and is that we would like to get as much support from outside Lunenburg tax money as possible. And we're willing to write grants to harass our elected officials. And after we had our last presentation with the select board, I don't know if you all know, but Crona had sent 2 reps from his office in. I had invited Cronin, Kushmerek, and Santa, and I had also invited 2 of the candidates that I had met before to our meeting. So after our meeting with the select board, I made sure Kushmerek didn't come. I sent him the presentation. I sent him the link. And I also sent the link in the presentation to the 2 candidates that I know. So I think what we have always said is that we are committed to do what it takes, and so that the burden is not within Lunenburg taxpayers, within our own tax money from our town. I mean, at the end of the day, any money we get is going to be taxpayer money. The ARPA funding is taxpayer money from our grandchildren, likely, because we're just borrowing against, we're just printing money, literally. So, so I think, I hear all that, but we need to get the next phase done, this engineering done. Because if we don't, we can't possibly go ask for money from anyone. If we can't get the engineering process started right away, there's no way we'll be done before the next, we're gonna be looking 2 years before we get any other money. And that's the part that I wanna try to avoid. So that's where I think we have a little bit of a case for trying to get funded in these town meeting. So that's my thought on that. So anybody have any thought? I mean, that was going to be my ask for our town manager is how can we get this funded by November to get this started right away?
So I agree with you that if we can get it in November, that would be great. I obviously watched last night's meeting as well through the end. I'm not sure that there's never going to be 100% of the town agreeing with a commission or committee on everything. I think it doesn't matter who they are, we may hit some pushback regardless. So
Right.
I think as long as we know that it's coming and we're prepared with answers, and that's great. I do think that we need to, and this is sort of bigger than the scope of what you have on the agenda for tonight, but I think we need to really start paying attention to deadlines for some of these grants, because there's going to be some that are just going to be like, Dave and I could probably tell you right now that there's some that I know that we'll be applying for, but we need to be aware of those deadlines. So I think we need to start doing multiple things as we're moving forward with this, which is also my whole thing, like going back to the capital planning stuff. If we don't move forward with putting Marshall Park on the capital plan, requesting funds on the capital plan for an amount that we know what that money figure is right now. What happens come special town meeting if we put something on the warrant article and we don't get it? Capital planning, Dave, it's usually sometime December, January, you really start narrowing down your priority list. So I
Yeah, we're
don't,
pretty much, we're pretty, not to interrupt Karen, real quick, we're pretty much done by the end of December.
yeah, so I don't want to miss
yeah.
that opportunity either. So I'm wondering, since we have a dollar figure, I think that we should be doing two things at the same time for the exact same project. And that would be putting something forward on for the capital plan. Because we have a money figure, it shouldn't entail very much. But saying to the capital planning people, it is our hope that we can get this funding at special town meeting, but we want to be considered just in case we don't. That's sort of that's my 2 cents on that.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I agree with that 100%. But I think the deadline for capital planning is after the deadline for. I think the deadline for capital planning is after the deadline for special town meeting warrants.
Yeah, but remember, everything moves slower, so
No, I know.
Maybe later, but again,
I'm not disagreeing with that.
Yeah. So submission of projects from the department heads is way ahead of the warrant closing. Way ahead.
Oh, well, when is
So-
that?
Well, I got to look up the schedule again, but I'm going to say by the end of September
Well,
that the projects have got to be submitted.
right, but the town warrant is I think September 20th.
Wasn't
It's-
that early?
Yeah. We got an email. Yeah, it is closing that early. But I agree, like, for the engineering, the thing is, I feel like we need to meet with the town manager because Marshall Park is on her radar. I think is on the
Yep.
select board radar. I don't think that's one that we are going to be leading alone. I think that's one that we're gonna be teaming up with them. And I think the other two projects, ones that we're leading. But it is, yeah. Okay, so my question is, we do have another meeting before the deadline for town warrant. But my question is it our stand that we would like to have the engineering costs funded on special town meeting? And possibly are we willing to put that warrant ourselves without the support of town manager and select board?
We're going to
So,
need their
yeah.
support to get it. Yeah, Anna, we're going to need their support to get it to pass. So I would say that have the conversation with town manager. If she's on board with whichever process she suggests to bring it to November town meeting, let's go that route. And say that we want to have it vetted on town meeting floor in November. How does she want to approach it? If she doesn't want to entertain it, then we can, at our next meeting, we can make a final decision whether we put it in as a citizen's petition or whatever we do at that point.
All right, that's fair.
Okay.
Okay. All right, I think that's good. So that's all. Chris, do you have any comments on these two?
What Dave just said makes sense.
Okay, how about you, Pat? You good?
I think what Dave said is absolutely right.
All right. I copied the language, so just you all know, Karen has the, you can't chat with everybody, so I just send it to her. As of Tuesday, August 23rd, 2022, the warrant will be open for submission articles for the November 15th, 2022 special town meeting and will close on Tuesday, September 20th, 2022 at 5 p.m. All
Well,
right.
that sounds like a small
I
window.
came through in an email, I think. Are you forwarded?
Yeah,
Did you
I
that
did
in?
forward
Right,
it to
you
everybody,
forwarded
the email. I just want to,
it. Yeah, no, it came in an email.
okay. All right. No, but I think it's great. We're all, we're all on the same page, which is wonderful.
Yep.
All right, the next item on the agenda is the Marshall Park Survey invitation for bid recommendations. Dave had made some recommendations, and so did Karen. I think the town manager incorporated them all, right, Dave? Did you read her?
Yeah, I think she pretty much captured everything. I still have a little concern, and I haven't been able to get back into a few other paragraphs where trees are mentioned. I think we're really going into the weeds with any documentation of trees on this plan. I even question whether the wording that I gave her is appropriate. I don't know why we're documenting trees on a civil plan, especially whereas we are going to be taking down a large number of trees. So we're documenting them on a survey plan. And at the end of the day, those trees, many of them are going to be gone within the central part of the park. So I'm a little concerned as to why that's in there. I'm guessing that was a cookie cutter RFP or whatever you call it that was copied from some other project. But definitely the way it was originally stated, that we would never have enough money funded to do a survey of that type with the trees all documented. Yeah, so that's my only concern with still having mention of trees in a couple other paragraphs. And she may have a good reason for it being in there, or she may consider taking the references to trees out. We do have a tree bylaw or something like that in the zoning bylaws, so there may be a requirement in there for some trees to be documented, but I thought it was only in impact areas. In other words, areas we're going to disturb, like, wetland areas and things like that. So that's my only concern with that. We do need to talk about the wetlands marking a little bit more, but I'll wait till that subject comes around in the overall discussion of this, unless you want me to
No, I think
make
so.
a couple comments now.
Okay,
I was just going to
let's
ask
go
that
back.
question, if those wetland flags, or if we get any further clarification on further things that we need to do with wetland flags and so forth, what actually documents all that.
Yeah, well, let me just make a talk with Dave about trees. Dave, the only part of the document that talks trees is on that one that talks, let's see. All right,
Are trees
so,
mentioned in a couple of paragraphs beyond that in that topo section?
okay, so accuracy of standards, significant trees and other existing conditions. The firm will use survey plans that the town previous. So it says significant trees.
Yeah, and there's a paragraph somewhere in there, it might be the next page, that talks about trees that are outside of the survey area, but their canopies overhang onto the survey area. I question what purpose we're recording those trees.
So a tree of caliper of 24 inches, which is the change, located within.
Yeah, that's my addition, yep.
Right. Note the special plant, given spot grade at base of each tree. Okay. Trees beyond the property shall be recorded only to the extent that the branch spread extend into the property or where the tree trunk is within 15 feet of the scope of the property line. Okay, so it's the only other, I think this might be the paragraph you're talking about, Dave.
Right, yeah, it is, exactly, you got it there.
Yeah, trees, I can bring it, let me share the screen again.
So
Yeah.
my question on all of this too would be, what is the added value to the park commission, the owners of this property, to have all those trees marked, or however it's listed on that RFP? Like, what is the value that it would be bringing to us? Because if there is no value that it would be bringing to us, then I don't think there's any value in expending town money on something that we don't need to have done. Well,
I-
you know what I mean?
Yeah, Dave, do you want to take that?
Yeah, I don't have a good answer for that, Anna. I do know that emphatically a couple of my contacts said, do not go the route of the 4-inch or 3-inch or whatever it was in the original wording, 3-inch caliper. It's up there now. That's just, you know, how many thousands of trees are there in that 28 acres that are over 3 inches? I mean, we wouldn't be able to see the property lines and the contour lines of the park because there'd be so many dots documenting trees. Also, to Karen's concern, you know, if you picture the bordering properties to the park, you're looking at trees around at least 2/3 of Marshall Pond that may fit that description about hanging over the property line. The entire length of the property line from Chestnut Street to Mass Ave is going to be trees there the entire way. And parallel to 2A. I don't think there's any value to it unless somebody can prove otherwise to us.
Yeah, and there's a big part that butts the pond, which is directly behind the town hall. That area,
Yep.
it's all wetlands and it's not buildable. And there are a lot of trees there, like it's dense. And if we're talking about 15 feet, I mean, that's going to be a lot. I mean, I'm just talking because like that area is just trees. On the other properties, there are butts, I think there are houses and not as many, but behind town hall, it's trees. And there'll be a lot of documented. Okay.
Yeah.
I can, okay, so, but I do want to have us, okay. I don't know, I can ask Heather if there's a value documenting any kind of tree size. And I don't know if that might be for work that needs to be done. If there is a tree that's large, a lot of trees are large that need clearing, I don't know. But we can ask her. And I do think this 15 feet of the property is a lot. It will be a lot of trees.
Anna, I'd like us to try to kind of agree on maybe 1 or 2 options to propose to her.
Okay.
The
Do you want to take the lead
one,
on that?
yeah, the first one being that we remove all reference to trees in this section completely, even the edit that I suggested, and just take it out completely unless she can give us a compelling reason why it needs to be in there. I think that the schematic design and some of the engineering that's going to need to be done for the phases, it will deal with this better. And it will deal with the trees that are staying rather than the trees that are going to go away. So that's the first proposal. The second would be to edit line H to put in that, you know, the 24-inch caliper and see if there's any value to that. I question whether there's even value to that at this point. That could be, you know, that could be documented in later plans that are going to have to be drawn up for the individual projects within the park.
Okay. I'm fine with that. I don't think we need to have a vote. Does anybody have any comments or about trees?
I think the simpler we make
Maybe
it, the better.
trees.
And to Karen's point, like, and I think Dave just said it too, but I mean, if there's a compelling argument why we need to document trees, so be it. But I mean, we're determining we're moving, you know.
Yeah, I'm wondering about ledge outcroppings too. I mean, that's another one that kind of baffles my mind, but
Which
I don't
one?
think that there's a sentence in that same section down just a little further. K, line K. Note any ledge outcroppings and show their approximate size and location. Again, I question what value there is to that.
Well, is there any that will be a Marshall Park?
There might be a couple. I think that's going to be there won't be many.
Okay, so I don't think that would be, I think the tree would, I don't think we need to go back and forth on something that may not be kind of, stop show. I think the
Yeah,
trees
no, I
are,
agree. Yeah.
um,
I mean,
Okay,
if we were looking at properties like over in Leominster, Crow Hill and things like that, they have ledges that are actually climbing walls and things like that, natural climbing walls. I can see that. But I agree, there's so little there that should come under that definition. It shouldn't be a big deal.
right.
Now, just so I get it clear, Anna, are you going to take that to town manager with the other stuff that you're going to be meeting with her, or do you want me to
Well,
broach this with her separately?
Do you want to send an email? So what I had envisioned maybe is, if you want to elaborate what we just discussed on the email, because you did really well the last time. And
Yep.
when I meet with her, she can elaborate and say, no, I don't see a reason. It was a copy and paste. So we can remove that, and we can say, please move ahead with this.
Yeah,
I would like us to have an agreement of being okay moving forward with it, so we don't have to have another meeting about it.
Right. Yep. No, that's fine. I'll put together a synopsis of what we just talked about, basically saying that unless there is an added value to this process being part of the plan, we as a commission feel it should be removed, and our chair will be meeting with you in the near future to confirm one way or the other if there is a compelling reason for it to stay in.
Okay, perfect.
And I'll copy you on that.
Great. Okay. And you had something else, Dave, on the survey.
Yeah, wetland flagging. As you are aware, there are some concerns about how we as a commission and individual members deal with especially the borders of Marshall Pond, whereas there is a potential conflict of interest with a property owner abutting the pond, potentially getting a direct financial benefit from the flagging along Marshall Pond. I think you're aware of the concern, and I don't foresee you trying to push this forward because it would benefit you. It just is a fact that it does benefit that property going forward legally. I'd like to leave that alone for the moment. If we
Well,
can, we
Dave,
can go back to it. Go back to it in a minute. We'll go back to it in
Okay.
just a minute. Let me finish. I have had another conversation with Matt Morrow, and he has been away the last couple of weeks. He does a family trip out of town every year this time of year, and he is willing to come back and do anything, double check all of the wetland flagging that he is aware of should be in place, and double check that if he missed anything. And I've got a couple of spots for him to check. One specifically is the access road from Mass Ave in. I can't find any flags along that wetland between Conrad's and the town property. And then during that conversation, he and I talked about the Main Street side of Marshall Pond, and he asked, why do we want that flagged? We're not impacting that. Why are we flagging it? And the other thing being that there's a very good chance that our property line is in the water in the pond. So we'd be flagging on private property is the other concern. So I just leave it out to you. He said, if the commission says they want to flag all the way around the pond, he's willing when he gets back to come do it. And he will have the entire park flagged for us so that whoever surveys the park will pick up that flagging and document it on their plan.
So let's break it down a little bit. There was a lot there.
Yep.
So
Okay.
I first of all, when we talk about surveying a property, my understanding is the whole property gets surveyed. I have no interest of doing anything near the pond. But anyway, so I'm assuming when they come to survey, they will be surveying both sides of the property, right?
Yes, on the,
Right.
on,
So,
right, there's like, I think, I'm afraid we're losing Pat in this and maybe Chris, who have no idea what we're talking about. Okay, so number one, there is a concern that Anna as an abutter could have remember, it doesn't have to be a definite conflict of interest. It has to be a perceived, that somebody from the public could look in at this and say, the Parks Commission just voted with Anna's input to go ahead with this survey. If there is a perceived conflict of interest, anybody can raise that. So that's the Anna piece of it for those who didn't catch that.
So are we asking Anna to abstain from that particular
abstain, but
vote? Or I mean, it's like, what's the?
Yeah.
So I mean, if it was me, I would probably just call the ethics department and get a official verdict. But here's the thing though, in the grand scheme, we're all on the same page in what needs to have done. So she can abstain, even if she doesn't call, just to avoid that perceived conflict of interest. And that would resolve it completely. Now, on the survey part, 100%, when they do the surveying of the actual borders of the property, I think they need to go all the way around, 100% around, even if it means that property lines running through the middle of the pond. But we don't know for sure that it's running in the middle of the pond. I mean, what's the harm, I suppose, in having the wetlands flagged over on that Main Street side, even if we're not doing anything with it? At least they would be, it's my understanding that when the survey is done, when the property survey is done, that wetlands surveying is taken into consideration, or at least it's shown. So, I mean, I would think that when we're looking at our property as a whole, knowing where the wetlands are is as important as knowing where the property lines are.
I would think we'd be doing the whole thing. Did we get any determination on how the wetlands flagging is actually documented? I know that was our question. We had that question at the last meeting.
The civil, whoever we hire to do the survey will pick up the flagging when they do their perimeter boundary measurements, and they will note where they see the flags. And then I'm not sure that we're going to be going, if we're looking for, and I would hope not at this point, detail of the 30-foot no-touch zone, the 50-foot buffer, and the 100-foot buffer. The only time that comes into play is if you're disturbing an area adjacent to a wetlands. I think this plan should just identify where the wetlands borders are, and then the schematic design and final engineering show those areas, just like you saw. Yeah, if you remember, the skate park has those notations on it. The septic design has those notations on it, has the lines drawn where the 30, 50, and 100 foot from the wetlands are. That's when you pick up that detail.
Sure.
But the boundary survey will pick up the flagging, and
So
that
it's just an
will,
assumption those flags don't get moved. No one's moving those flags.
no, they won't. Nobody moves
I
flags.
don't envision. Yeah,
I mean, this process is done all over the world, and it's a pretty simple process.
Okay.
And Matt's been doing it for close to 3 decades for the town and the state, so he knows what he's doing. He just questioned why we're flagging all of the wetlands, because he's used to going into a property and flagging only the wetlands that are within 100 feet or so of a project that's going to disturb ground near a wetlands. But this is kind of a little different animal, whereas we're trying to get a picture of the entire park up front and then break it down into its pieces after that.
If he's not opposed, yeah, I would say do the whole thing. You know, obviously he's.
Yeah, that's fine. And I don't think
kind in this.
Yeah, and Anna, you know, nothing, nothing specifically against you. It's just, as Karen brought it up, it's a perception that could surface. Because what it basically, I know, I understand, but you own a piece of property. You don't have any plans to do anything now, but 2 years from now, you and your husband decide to add an outbuilding or something to the property, and your engineer has to show the wetland markings on your plan. You voted to have the town have that done. That's the perception.
I
That's
would
why-
need to do so much if I decide to do anything and to build this property. So much that in this map here, it doesn't show the house that was built here. And it was built a line to where my house is, which is near the front. And it had to be an exception to designs because there's so much wetlands everywhere that he couldn't build back further. So anyway, there's no way to build anything here, and that would be the last thing that I would want. But anyway, I
Yeah,
don't
but
mind
you-
calling. So let me
Yeah,
speak.
no, that's fine.
I don't mind
But-
calling. I don't mind abstaining from a vote. I don't mind anything.
Yep.
I would love to not
Yep.
have a 3-hour meeting, that part.
No,
So that's my
and,
top
you know,
priority.
If everybody's okay with it, I will just contact Matt. We don't have to take a formal vote on this. We just tell him that we need all of the wetlands flagging throughout the park and all the way around Marshall Pond, and we leave it at that. And then
And
we
people are
have what we
used to-
need.
Yeah, and people are used to walk into my yard to go to the pond. I always welcome them. It's
Oh, yeah.
wonderful. I love
Yep.
it. The teen center, they come down. The Turkey Hill used to have a teacher that used to bring them down. Pat has had a fire back there, and I have left wood out for him. The more
Sure.
the merrier.
Does a, I mean,
Yep.
does a vote
I don't
with
think we need
Anna
a vote.
abstaining save any of the ethics sort of side of this? Like, I mean, just so it's documented, like, I don't know, I'm just trying to save, you know,
Yeah.
I guess
Well, the question
I think the
fix
safest,
any perception.
the safest thing is for Anna just to have the conversation with that office. If they see no problem with it, it's said and done.
Did
At
we have a
least
vote
it-
to do the last flagging,
No,
or do we just, so why would we need it now, I guess?
Why would
I
we
guess I'm
need
not-
what?
If we didn't, did we vote to have the last flagging done, or did you just call Morrow and have him do it?
I can't tell you for sure. I
didn't.
believe, I don't believe we actually voted. I think we discussed it and said, yeah, if
Yeah.
Matt's willing to do it as a donation, then go
Right.
ahead and do it.
So I would be in the understanding that it's probably the exact same thing. So, yeah, I think we're all in agreement to just have them just do it. We don't need to vote on it.
Okay, we're good.
Okay, so the plan to get this out, because that I do care too, 3 hours meeting and finally get this out is Dave will make the final comment, and when I meet with Heather, we'll just finalize the decision there and just ask her to post it as soon as possible.
Yeah, and I think she adjusted the wording in the the wetland flagging area so that I think we're covered both ways. So
Okay.
that if the civil engineer sees something that does get missed, they're instructed in that wording to pick it up, flag it and document it. But that we have had most, if not all, of the park already flagged. There's wording in there in the wetlands section.
Okay, yeah, I mean, the one thing is I don't know how they spot wetlands, but it's been pretty dry. So I don't know if someone who doesn't know the land as well as Matt would know where some of the land is.
Yeah, well,
wetland is.
one of the things that they look for is vegetation.
Oh,
Vegetation identifies wetlands too, so it's not just water levels or, perimeters of
sense.
ponds, so on and so forth.
yeah. Okay, All right, so that's it for that item. Other business that matters, I don't think, does anybody have anything else that come to be discussed, or we're good? Correspondence announcement, public board. So for open space, we had a meeting this past last week, and we did hire a title person to try to find who owns Stump Cove. And that's being used, the money that Bright Farms gave $10,000 to Open Space Committee. And that title search is going to be paid with that money. So we didn't have to wait for town to approve that or not, or nothing. So we're hoping that once we have information about Stump Cove, we'll know how to proceed. But it is the goal of the commission to try to get public and easy access to Lake Shirley. That's the only thing that I have for other. Oh, anybody else?
I'll just mention, as we've alluded to during our conversations this evening, that although I attended the Board of Selectmen's meeting representing the Capital Planning Committee last evening, I did a lot of stumping for the Parks Commission also in regards to ARPA funding, and very, very good reception, especially from two or three out of the five Board of Selectmen. So we are on the list of potential funding of projects through ARPA for, it was described as, yes, we'd like to see a big chunk of the 3.6, I think it is, $million be earmarked for Marshall Park. And the beach building is on the list, but there was not a number attached to that. And there was a couple of questions about connecting to sewer as well as the septic on Chestnut Street. And I explained the reasoning behind the two possibilities, both coming to fruition in the future, that giving us the facility on the Chestnut Street side and a facility in the central part of the park. And that's pretty much it. I would like to report very quickly that I had a conversation with a gentleman from Rural Development. That's a federally funded program administered by the Department of Agriculture, I believe it was. And the town has dealt with that division in the past with a long-term low-interest loan for Meadowwood Trailer Parks hook up to sewer, and that project has been closed out and the loan's all paid off, so on and so forth. So we already have a relationship with that department, and there is a possibility. They have a program that he called it the WET program, W-E-T. I don't know what those words stand for, but it has something to do with wastewater, septic and sewer, and they are usually funded in mid to late February each year, and we could potentially put a project through them to fund any portion of the improvements that we're looking to do with either the septic system and the toilets or the sewer hookup and the toilets, and also maybe down the road consider some funding through them for the toilets at McNally. But that was just informational stuff that I got from him. I'm going to pass that on to the town manager, and I suggested that maybe she'll have a conversation with him because he was way over my head with a lot of the stuff he brought up.
Thank you, Dave.
And that one last comment, that program, I specifically mentioned that one because the rest of the programs are pretty much low interest 40-year loans, whereas this WET program is a combination of grants and low interest loans. And he said that it would be about a 40% grant, 50% low interest loan if we, were to put an application in through that program. Just another funding option. Thank you.
No, that's great. Thank you, Dave. Yeah, I mean, as soon as we have, the engineering and some real cost done and phasing, I think we are all eager to start working on those things. So for our next meeting, we technically meet on the third Wednesday. That will put us past the town warrant deadline. I'm wondering if we are available to meet on September 14, which is the second Wednesday of the month.
That
I
works.
can make it work.
Okay.
I'm open. Yeah, I was just thinking that same thing. We'd missed that deadline.
Pat, you good?
Yeah, I can do it.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay. So
And
our
just to
next
give a
meeting-
heads up, while we're sort of looking at September, I'm not available in October at all for a meeting, so I just want to make sure that next month, that when you discuss October, you make sure that you have enough for a quorum.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Hey, Carol, the 14th is our water department meeting also, I believe, at 4 o'clock.
Okay, we need to touch base on that, obviously, Dave.
Yep.
And so you all know, I'm going to request the meeting with town manager, and once I have that meeting, I believe I can send an email out with a summary of the meeting, just to keep everyone informed, kind of what I did in the past. That's my intention. All right, thank you, everyone. With that, I think we covered our agenda. Do I get a motion to adjourn?
I'll motion to adjourn at 8:57 PM.
Second,
All right, all those in favor, Karen,
Aye.
Dave,
aye.
Pat?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
And an aye for myself. And with that, thank you all. Very productive meeting. Have a wonderful night. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.